And now, delivered to you straight from the 505's most news-biting source of politi-comma-tainment, it's the New Mexican Inquisition with Danger Caveros.
Hey! How you guys doing? Welcome back. This is the Season 3 finale of the New Mexican Inquisition. Wow. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. We have an amazing show. We're going to go out with a bang, right? We have Vera Berger on the show tonight. She's going to talk about some, Also joined by a good friend of the show, the amazing Gus Pedrotty is here. That's right. And we're going to have our first taste of a musical guest on the New Mexican Inquisition. He's a very good friend of mine for very years. One of the most talented people that I know, the incredible Paul Hunton, is on the program. Yeah. But first, let's talk about some news. Tell some jokes. What do you guys think? Do some jokes? Joke news? Yeah, it's the obligatory monologue, so bear with us here. A lot of cool things have been happening in the news. You know, we took the last couple 2 weeks off. But Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller, you may have read recently, went undercover downtown to investigate crime and what was happening when the bars were closing to see if he could do anything about public safety. He talked afterwards about ride sharing and barricade strategy, but he left out what I think is the most important detail, what everybody wants to know. What was your disguise? Is there like a mustache? Like a fat suit? What did you do? I imagine him Unabombering it up with like a hood and some glasses, just like... What was... Pics or it didn't happen, Tim? Come on, like... I want to see the disguise. Because now I'm going to be paranoid every time I'm going out downtown at night. You know, some, kid with a screwdriver is trying to take my wallet, and I'd be like, is that you, Tim? Is that you, Tim Keller? Here, take my wallet. Okay. The 16-week-long training course for Albuquerque Rapid Transit bus drivers is underway. 16-week training course, that's right. I wonder how the bus driver trainees are going to feel when the 16-week training course inevitably turns into a 2-year training course in Chinese. I wonder how they're... In a surprising nod, Republican Senator Rand Paul has endorsed Gary Johnson in his bid for the New Mexican Senate. That's right. And he did not endorse the Republican candidate for the same office, Mick Rich. So sorry, Mick, Gary is actually trying to bridge the gap between people who don't like Donald Trump and people who don't like Democrats. But Gary, you can't just be against things, man. You got to be for something, You have to stand for something, and it can't just be weed. It can't just be weed, Rand Paul doesn't like weed. It can't just be weed. Oh, Gary, it's weed, isn't it? It's weed. You're crazy, Gary. I'll call you later, man. You're crazy. About that thing. State Senator Joe Cervantes has endorsed Michelle Lujan Grisham for the governorship. That's pretty good news. Yeah, they did a little video, released it on Facebook, doing a wholehearted endorsement of Michelle. And then after they cut the cameras, you could hear Michelle asking Joe Cervantes if he had any of that $500,000 loan he lent himself in the primary left over. Trying to get that money. New Mexico Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse-Oliver has announced her plans for the November general elections to implement straight party voting on the ballot. Not that there's anything wrong with straight party voting. Whatever you do in the privacy of your own voting booth is up to you. It's your own business. Straight party voting. A New Mexico jewelry store owner has been jailed for 6 months and has an additional year of supervised release after he was busted for selling counterfeit jewelry. That's right, counterfeit native jewelry, to be more specific. He's got to be the softest guy to ever go into the slammer, right? The other guys will be like, hey, what are you in here for, Holmes? And I'll be like, arts and crafts. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to be making toilet wine, but you can bet he's going to be making dream catchers out of toilet paper. So, a turkey wandered into a downtown Albuquerque woman's yard recently. It was featured in a heartwarming story on KOB that now the turkey has taken up permanent residence in the woman's home. Isn't that just sweet? That's so sweet, but that's weird. It's like when a turkey does it, it's heartwarming and ends up on the nightly news. But when I do it, it's an offense, and I end up on the nightly news. Well, we got a great show for you guys tonight. Stick around after these brief messages. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the Mexican Inquisition. I'm, of course, your host, Danger K. Varos. We have a lot of guests tonight, so let's get to it. This next young lady is an organizer for Fight for Your Lives. She's been making some waves, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about that. I want to welcome Vera Berger to the Mexican Inquisition. Hi. You can have a seat right here. So thanks for coming on the show. I mean, have you ever done anything like this before?
No, I haven't. I'm excited to be here.
Good. But you're used to public speaking, though.
Yes, in the past year, definitely.
I understand that fairly recently you spoke in Wyoming for the federal...
The Federal Commission on School Safety is chaired by Betsy DeVos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she wasn't there. I think she's been to 1 out of the 4 sessions.
I wouldn't expect that she would be very interested in that. Mm-hmm. Did you get to meet anybody else interesting while you were there?
I met some representatives from the Department of Justice and Education, but other than that, nobody famous.
Anybody cool?
I wouldn't say so.
I thought the Department of Justice was just packed with rad dudes and...
Not my experience. Okay. Maybe next time.
So I watched your speech, but I know a lot of our people that are watching this haven't. So tell us a little bit about what you spoke about while you were there.
Well, in New Mexico, students of color are disproportionately affected by increased law enforcement on school campuses. And so one thing that my group is really dedicated to is making sure that we have safety policies that are actually going to keep the students safe. And that doesn't look like zero tolerance policies for us or increased law enforcement or even armed teachers, which it's wild that I even feel like I have to say that.
It's weird to say it out loud,
yeah.
Like things like armed teachers, you know. It sounds like things like kick puppies, like that'll help.
Yeah.
So what kind of policies do you think do make sense?
I think that it's important to have holistic support for students. So in New Mexico, the guidance counselor ratio, counselor to students, is 1 to 471. And oftentimes the guidance counselors are just there for changing schedules and for college. And so we think that it's important to have social workers and increased numbers of guidance counselors on campuses and make sure that students really feel like they're supported in their school environment.
That's right. My understanding is the average student counselor to student ratio is something like 400.
470.
470.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to keep on top of. You probably can hardly remember their names,
right.
Much less remember if they're visiting you in your office what's going on. So what high school are you still in high school now?
Yeah, I'm a senior at Bosque School. So my high school experience has been different to a lot of people in Albuquerque, but I'm still trying to advocate for all of the students.
Why do you say it's different? Is Bosque School like everyone wears monocles and why is there segues through the hallways or?
It's a smaller school and it's private, so I have a guidance counselor and I know her name and she knows mine. But I still have experienced lockdowns and active shooter drills, and that's another thing that Fight for Our Lives wants to combat, because we realize that our generation's becoming desensitized to these kind of things and even to the idea of a school shooting, and that was really scary for us.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of, so in organizing for Fight for Your Lives, what kind of work do you do?
In the past few months, we've had some free weekly workshops. We're focused on empowering students and youth in the Albuquerque community. So we've had workshops on intersectionality, anti-racism, and community organizing. And we've also been organizing a march in protest of the NRA Police Shooting Championship that's held in Albuquerque every year.
What is that?
Well, it's a championship. It's open to the public and to law enforcement officers of New Mexico, and they shoot for a week.
With guns?
With guns, yes. So the reason we're protesting that is because we think that it glorifies shooting, and that's scary for us, especially in a place that has such high gun violence.
Right, there's a difference between maintaining protocols and your service weapon and maintaining your training and having a big party, like a gun party.
Exactly.
So you mentioned something a minute ago, anti-racism and
intersectionality?
Yes, what is that?
I actually didn't know that much about it until I went to the workshop, but it's pretty much trying to uphold equity and understanding that we all come from different levels of privilege. And so intersectionality is understanding that and understanding that we need to bring some people up a little bit more so that we can bring all of us up.
Well, I think you're doing amazing work. I'm glad to have you on the show, and I hope you'll stick around for a conversation with our next guest, if that's all right with you.
Sure, of course.
This wasn't too nerve-wracking. This is okay? This is pretty all right?
Great.
All right, well, thanks very much, Vera Berger, for coming on the
me.
show. Vera Berger, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Mexican Inquisition. We're going to keep it right on rolling by with these amazing guests, these news-biting conversations we're having on this program. You can only catch them here. This next guy, he's a real straight shooter. Okay. He's a good friend of the show, as I mentioned before, the amazing Gus Pedrotty. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. Have a seat. Gus. Danger. Is that your real name?
Yes?
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Whew. Oh, first question done.
This is the Inquisition. Right. You've been making some waves in Albuquerque recently. You know, you had some really amazing campaign ads when you were running for mayor. They were hilarious. You know, some cutting edge stuff. You had a really amazing platform that a lot of people really got behind, and I thought was really important that you ran and you did your thing. And I hope that you stay in there and you.
Still the city I love for sure. So not
Well,
going
yeah,
anywhere.
you're not just gonna put the rucksack on and head on out of town.
Like unless the snow's really good somewhere else, but don't worry.
Okay.
It won't be. Yeah.
So what have you been doing lately?
Well, I wash dishes at Marble Brewery, so just a few blocks from this incredible station we have here. I also work for a contact lens company and work at a coffee shop.
You have 3 jobs?
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of people in this state don't have any, and you're hogging all the jobs.
I really wanted to figure out what a new economy felt like, so I went for every single one of them.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, man. Is it too political to say I love them all equally? Yeah,
that's
it is.
fine.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
fine.
a horrible answer.
You're not running for office right now. You can pick one.
Luckily. They're all good.
Cool. So you also been working with QWorks.
Yeah, Quirks.
Quirks.
He's never seen a video, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, man. Busted. Tell us about it so that we can all watch the video and learn.
Yeah, Quirks is an experiment. And so it came from kind of a post-mortem on the campaign with a lot of the people that worked with us. And we were all drinking beers around some cold pizza, just like any other campaign meeting. And we were done. We think we had enough to put it behind us. And as we were all leaving, somebody asked a question that shut us all up again and made us reflect harder. And it was, now that we know what we know, are we ever going to be brave enough to do it again? And we were like, because not only does that question acknowledge like the unknown traumas of insurgent campaigns and like being kind of this this like unpleasant thorn for a lot of people. But also it made us ask what that it was. Because it certainly isn't me running again. It's not another campaign. But something happened within that campaign. It was the intention and the engagement that made it happen. We ran 230 days on $17,000, which is pennies for campaigns. Consulting firms cost less per month, even locally. And it was all because it was done by the community. These videos were made by community members. It was all volunteer driven. So everything that was there during a campaign wasn't bought and paid for. It was made by us, by the attention of a community. So what could we do to make sure that that attention didn't have to end just because a campaign did?
Right, you want to keep the momentum going, see where it goes.
And just to ensure that the idea that we need to stop running campaigns for identities and start putting forward ideas, doesn't end anywhere. If you want to, to use horrible analogies, break this like sprint mentality in governance as it only exists in campaigns, then you actually have to be inclusive in the marathon. And so Quirks is that. We took all of these videographers, all of these people who wanted to keep talking about issues, and we said, great, let's ask and answer questions about our city from a vantage point of who are using these services. And what don't we understand about them? And all of a sudden you realize that nobody understands anything about how the city works.
Yeah.
And within that is this really important dialogue about disbelief when we see candidates, because so many of these things stem from our own ignorance. We don't understand how people know these things or where these ideas are coming from because we're uninvolved in the process ourselves, which isn't our fault. Because especially if you go to public school, what up, Vera? Bosky's rad too. You get all of these national textbooks, right? Like by Pearson, McDowell, and they tell you about how the fact that the United States has a Congress that might be working, it has a White House, and the Supreme Court, and that's it. So they can sell these textbooks all over the United States. And you never learn about how a city works. Because how could they profit?
Yeah, that's true.
And then if you're fortunate enough to go to college and you're dumb enough to study political science, maybe you'll learn about how a city works. But you probably won't. And yet this is what matters most to us. This is what we can engage most in. And so even just starting short conversations of how many city departments are there leads to a huge cascade of discussions on bureaucracy and how services are implemented into communities. But we need a space for that. And we need a space where we can have that conversation objectively, honestly, and in a lot of ways just like really leveling with each other to deal with the ignorance we're all trying to overcome.
Yeah, I'm ignorant about a lot. I remember I was driving my car the other day, looking at some orange cones in the road, and I was like, where do city taxes come from? Where do they come from? Like, I have no idea where city tax, where does the money go? Who pays for the things in the city?
Yeah. Do you want that answer?
Yeah, would you please tell me?
Sure. I mean, like, quick breakdown. This is really cool. Quirks is about to do a tour of every district in the city, and we're going to focus on actually how taxation works. Because, like, spend local, but, like, what does that mean? Taxation, so you pay something at a local shop or at some vendor, they actually take that tax, and then they have to give it to the state, and then the state gives it back to the city. Okay. So that's how our gross receipts tax is working. And there are huge debates about whether or not gross receipts taxes are efficient for our economy. It's a backdoor way to tax the federal government, actually. Really sneaky, New Mexico. Too bad our dependency on the federal government has been like a really tragic history. So that's the gist of how taxation's working. And when we talk about it openly and about the strength our small businesses have, when they can actually do things like withhold gross receipts tax legally with a letter of protest, put it in a different account, you start talking about economic ways for us to organize to, show our values. And it's if we understand that, we have a better foothold as chambers of commerce that communicate, as small businesses that identify within neighborhoods. We have a better foothold against policy and legislation that's being passed and acted on against companies like Amazon, who can just roll into places like in Seattle and just steamroll a dialogue. So taxation is actually an important organizing tool for communities as well.
What can people do to find out more? Obviously, I haven't seen one of your amazing Quirks videos. So where do we get plugged in?
Good question. If you had at any point chosen to like the Gus for Mayor page, it's all of that social media. I know, like, what a weird choice to make. But the whole idea is that when you look at campaign pages, they either go dark, they become a political whipping post, right, to keep name ID relevant, or they immediately renovate for another campaign. And none of those really fit the dialogue of that mayoral race. So it's now called Quirks.
So Gus for mayor turned into Quirks.
Turned into Quirks. Because
Which is
people are already
spelled
there.
QWorks.
Right.
But it's not called QWorks.
Exactly. We're
It's Quirks,
trying to
which
play on the trauma of when that one mayor tried to make us the Q.
That one?
That one.
That one time?
Yeah, isn't he always the mayor? Who was that?
Remember that time, a long time ago?
And so you can find us there. So Quirks on Facebook, quirks.abq on Instagram. And with any luck, we're going to be able to start finding the smallest bit of funding so that we can start sponsoring posts. So even if you don't want to see us, you will.
Nice. Have you had the pleasure of meeting Vera Berger before?
Never in person. Hello, Vera.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to get to meet you.
You too.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks. You too.
What is your take on this, fight for our lives mission right now, and does Quirks do anything with that, or is it specifically like municipal?
We are totally municipal focused right now. In fact, our value statement, magic, run your city, kind of enforces that idea. So thank you for having me. This is yours, by the way.
Oh, a present!
And then this is yours. And because anybody should be rewarded for showing up, we have gifts for everybody in this audience. So you get a sticker, you get a sticker.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate it. I love listening to you talk.
Oh, gosh.
You're a brilliant person, and I love that face you make. We should all do it together. Can we get a wide shot of all three of us doing the Gus Pedrotty? We'll be right back after these messages with our musical guest, Paul Hunton. Stick around. All right, welcome back to the Mexican Inquisition. We have one more amazing guest. I've mentioned before the opening segment. He's got to be one of the most talented people that I know. I hope he doesn't feel weird for me saying that. Put your hands together for the incredible Paul Hunton.
Oh, to be dancing on a cloud in the fading light of a dying star. The acid rain is falling, and my dear, I'm falling for you. An autumn gold to green, December low of 80 degrees. The mercury's not falling, but my dear, I'm falling for you. When noxious fumes surround us and the ears of antelope turn, I'll be holding you for an instant as we watch the stratus burn. As embers lighten the falling snow, we'll huddle in craters, take flight from the cold. The endless night is falling, and my dear, I'm falling for you. And my dear, I'm falling for you. And my dear, I'm falling for you.
Paul Hunton. Amazing.
Thank you.
Please have a seat here on the couch.
What's up?
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I was going to say I didn't know you could sing that well, but I did. I did know. I did know. Oh, would you like some
yes,
some water? I bet you're parched after
Parched.
that
I worked too
incredible
hard.
display.
Yes, thank you.
So, that's good coffee.
Yeah.
It's good coffee. That's good coffee. So tell us about your musical exploits here in the city right now.
These days I have the Silver String Band, 5-piece acoustic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Silver String Band fans. Bluegrass-ish band, and then you can't claim bluegrass unless you're very serious and very southern.
Right. You guys are bluegrass with a kick.
Yeah, bluegrass
Like a
and
shot of
does
99
some other.
bananas in that bluegrass.
Yeah.
And what else?
And then there's the newest project of mine is the Dust City Opera. More of a rock band, electric guitar, horns, and more yelling and carrying on.
Do you have any shows you'd like people to catch up in the next couple of weeks?
Let's see. Coming up soon is September 16th at Canteen, 4 to 7, and Halloween, Marble Downtown, Dust City Opera. Be there for that one.
You guys gonna be in costumes? What can we expect?
Yeah. We're gonna go all out. It's gonna be festive. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great for everyone. We had a minor setback with that, though.
What's that?
We commissioned a poster from a friend of ours, and our gracious hosts found it slightly too satanic.
Oh,
So
that happens all the time.
we're reworking some of the details on that one, but we will be appearing on the Marble stage.
With Satan or without.
Come hell or high water.
That's fantastic. What was the name of the song that you just performed?
This is my newest creation. I'm calling this Romance for the End of Days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that going to be featured with either of your bands, or is that just?
Yeah, that's Dust City Opera has already recorded a somewhat clean version of that. You can hear it on our website, dustcityopera.com.
Somewhat clean, so it wasn't filthy like what we just heard.
Yeah. It was about that raw, but then it had other instruments in there, and it's nice to listen to.
I just thought I'd double check to make sure the cobwebs maybe hadn't cleared. Do you remember your Gus story?
I feel like I have two. I mean, I do have a backup one. Wherein we shared the stage and a love interest in A Midsummer Night's Dream on the Civic Plaza downtown, long before Gus's political career, wherein I was to slap him every night in the face. And I took pleasure in that. I did.
It trained me for politics.
Yeah. So you could say I opened the door to Gus for his political career.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, well, thank you
and
for
sharing your
having me.
music with our audience.
Thank you for listening.
One more time for old time's sake.
Yeah. Okay. Can we? Okay. We did
see if we
it
get
pretty.
You guys can see the monitors, so
All right,
you
here
can
it
make
is.
sure you
This
got it
is
right.
our former mayor candidate, and I'm gonna hit him.
Okay.
Was that? Do we need a better one?
One more,
Okay.
okay.
Let's start doing that. It helps if I lick
Yeah,
it.
guys, this is going to be the camera we're going to get you on right here. So
This one?
Pivot this way.
Okay. No.
There we
See,
go.
if we go over here, we gotta get.
We need to
that.
get a good
Yeah.
slap on
All
camera.
right. Here we go. All right. There we go.
That was amazing.
It was harder for me than it was for him.
I want to thank our guests one more time, Vera Berger, Gus Pedrotty, Paul Hunton, for coming on the show. And I'd like to sign out. We're all going to make the Gus face together. All right? So good night. Thanks for checking in. And we'll be back with season 4 with lots of stuff. 1, 2. Ooh. Goodbye.